I want to give you guys a bit of data analytics, and I know that you can find a lot of things online about emerging markets, the trends of certain niches and products, and what have you, right? But we figured, why not give you firsthand experience from our hundreds of thousands of sellers? So we administered a poll back in the end of February when all of these kind of just started kicking off. And these are some of the feedbacks that we received from over 1,500 sellers. And this is what we found out. 48% of sellers saw increased returns of their products. 34% of them have been out of stock. 66% are still dependent on the existing inventory. 33% of our sellers are losing up to $1,500 a day in daily revenue, while 34 of them are losing $7,000 daily, which is over $200,000 a month. Sellers overall are noticing an 18% decrease in overall sales and selling orders. And a third are noticing a decrease of over 50% or more. So why don't we hop into how we could kind of manage some of these margins and get some of this money back on our side. So let's hop into what you need to do to think about your global expansion. And Henson, why don't you take us off there?
Yeah, so then it's good you mentioned all those stats. With COVID-19, there's been a lot of changes with consumer behavior and the way that sellers are now approaching with the way they sell, right? So a lot of times now they're diversifying into new products or not selling products that they used to sell pre-COVID-19. So a lot of things like beauty or household durables, apparel, entertainment, those are all categories we've seen big declines in, and categories like home entertainment or medical or home fitness have seen surges, right? So with international markets right now, the whole world is kind of experiencing the same thing, and different countries are in different stages of the virus, and some countries are back to normal and some are not. So for sellers that are trying to get into these international markets, we came up with kind of 4 key things that you need to kind of research before you try to jump in, or if you're currently selling, then you should just focus and pay more attention. So product research, very important, like understanding the audience, the marketplace you're selling in, the culture. Different products have different impacts, right, in different marketplaces. Fees and taxes, compliances, these are all very different than US marketplaces, especially with taxes and compliances, VAT, GST, different countries. You have to really understand how these taxes and compliances work before you can start. And then, staying profitable, right? Some of the strategies you sell in North America marketplaces like US, most of them work, right? But international marketplaces, we have to dig a little deeper into what are these other fees and taxes, and making sure that your break-even cost is, keeping you profitable. And of course, brand reputation, extremely important. Right now with some of these new marketplaces, they're kind of like how Amazon used to be 5 or 6 years ago, or Amazon US 5 or 6 years ago. So there's a tremendous opportunity right now to start that brand, build up that reputation, because brand reputation is really what distinguishes your product versus some of the other products that people selling that are similar.
So Henson, so we're really not too late for the Amazon gold rush, right?
It's never too late, right? Because people are always innovating, right? There's always going to be new products, new ideas, ways to improve existing products, right? And now with these new marketplaces, it's like you got a fresh start, right? So you have to understand, okay, how do I get into these marketplaces? Like I have to understand all the rules, do all my research, right? And if you get in early, right, the gold rush hasn't started in some of these other marketplaces. So yeah, absolutely, there's tremendous potential.
So that's great. So you're talking about each individual product actually being the actual gold rush itself. So why don't we talk a little bit about these international markets?
Yeah, so recently there's been a few new international marketplaces. For people that don't know, there's currently 16 different international marketplaces. In America, we have Mexico, Canada, Europe, Brazil, and Middle East. The new one that launched was UAE, and there's also Turkey. In Europe, the newest one is the Netherlands. So these are all new marketplaces that Amazon is expanding to, and down the line, these marketplaces are going to keep growing. So Keep in mind, each marketplace has different rules. So if you have any questions about, what are the things I need to get started, you can go to the Amazon marketplace. There's a international selling website that has all the details and information about how to get started. Now, the second most important thing is you have to first research product eligibility, right? What kind of restrictions are there? So every country has different types of restricted products, just like the US, right? So there's actually a whole breakdown on Amazon. You can go into each category and they actually tell you exactly what you can't sell, right? Or, there's restrictions. But the easiest way to find out really is to just go on the marketplace, just search for the product you're interested in and see if there's anyone selling it, right? If there's no one selling it, then that's probably a red flag already. And then you can double check to see, all right, is this product restricted or not? So those are two most important things. And then of course, competition, demand, right? You gotta do research, see, is there a lot of people selling this? Is this something that people want in this marketplace, right? One of the most important things is not just having the product, but you have to understand the culture of the international marketplaces, right? People in Japan, for example, might need something that's different than what people need in the US, right? A hot product selling in the US might not do so well in these other marketplaces. So there's a lot of opportunity to get into new products that might not sell in US, but they might sell well in some other countries. So.
Henson's point, we are noticing a huge uptake in the UAE and the India regions. So if you guys are thinking about it, take a look. I know that a lot of people, when they get into selling on Amazon marketplaces, wherever, there's a lot of fees that they got to be aware of. So why don't you take us through some of these bigger ones?
So overall, selling internationally and selling people that are selling in the US, the fee structure is very similar. You have basically 5 different types of fees. Subscription fees, same thing, individual and professional plan. Most sellers will start on the professional plan just because you just have a lot more advantages. You save a lot more money, you have a lot more, for example, you can use third-party software. If you use professional plan, individual plans, you can't, right? And you just get a higher discount. With the referral fees, it's the same as any other marketplace. It's a percentage of sales based on that category. So you have to check to see what category it is. Some categories take more fees than others. Fulfillment fees, same thing. You can choose to do FBA or FBM. Usually international sellers use FBA just because it's cheaper than to ship it yourself, especially if you're not living in that country. So FBA is extremely popular. And also there's, different, depending on the size of your product, there's small and light, there's standard, there's oversized products. So you have to really understand before you even, source your product, like how big is your product, how much is the weight, right? And figure out how much these fulfillment fees are, because fulfillment fees is basically the chunk of the fees that Amazon sells, or Amazon takes from your sales. So you have to really understand how much you're taking. So these are all very important things. Storage fees is very similar to fulfillment fees. So if you store at FBA at Amazon, they're going to charge you based on the size of your product, the amount of inventory. So you want to make sure you don't have too much storage at once, or you want to make sure that inventory is flowing. Otherwise, you could get charged, especially if you let it sit there for more than a year. They have these long-term storage fees, and some of these international marketplaces, they have different countries you can store them in also, and then the rates will vary. So you want to do your research to figure out, okay, where's the cheapest place I can actually store these products. And then there's also service fees, which is kind of optional. But if you want Amazon to do like all-in-one full service, then they can handle your returns, they can do the removal, there's disposal fees. So there's all these little fees that can tap on even after this fulfillment fee. So you have to really understand like how much, is Amazon going to charge me for selling a product? Wow. So if you go to the next slide, you'll see there's a lot of fees. There's 40, 50 different fees, and different depending on the marketplace, depending on what product you're selling. A lot of these fees, Amazon sellers never even heard or don't even know, and they're all kind of bundled in, right, into either Amazon selling fees or they're under fulfillment Amazon fees. So the issue here is until you sell a product, some of these fees, you have no idea if they're going to charge you or not, right? So keep in mind of these fees, and really study each one and see if your product will actually get hit with any of these fees. So yeah, it's a very complicated type of structure, but this is just how it is. So sellers really need to understand this.
Wow, so many fees that's the largest font that we could fit all of them on the screen. Jeez, well, now that we've talked a little bit about these fees and we've looked at about 50 of them, let's talk a little bit about taxes. Now, taxes, they might not look so bad after all those fees, right? But of course, I don't know about you guys, but unless I could stick some numbers into TurboTax, it's basically a foreign language to me. So imagine dealing with a foreign tax authority and then imagine doing that with dozens of them for dozens of countries, right? And the worst part is things range very drastically between different countries. And with that, what I mean is Italy takes about a week to 2 weeks to be VAT registered, whereas Germany could take up to 4 months, right? Compliance and required documents are also, they range from different countries as well, such as some countries require power of attorney, they require professional translation services, representatives, and all these documents that one country needs and another doesn't, okay? And then we're talking about the fees and the registration costs. Take, for example, the UK costs about 200 euros to get registered, whereas Germany is about 800, Poland's over 2,000. And then we're talking about filing cadences. The UK, you're filing every quarter. Germany, you're filing every month. Who's doing all of that for you, right? And then we haven't gotten into thresholds. All of these Amazon pan-European countries have different thresholds. Like the UK, for instance, you could get up to 85,000 before you have to file your VAT, whereas Germany is 22,000, and Poland is about 45,000. And what I'm trying to get at is none of these are really intuitive, right? You can't just figure these out. So what we've found is that there's been a lot of interest for people doing VAT because there's a lot of people joining e-commerce now, and they're taken aback by all of these fees, these information, and they don't realize that you have to get all of this done before you actually be able to sell and stay compliant. So take this time while you're working from home to kind of streamline your business and prepare yourself so that when you're out there and able to go do whatever you need to do again, you don't have to wait 3 to 4 months to be compliant, right? So we talked a lot about fees, so let's see what we could do to maintain these margins and stay profitable for our clients.
Yeah, so then I'm going to quickly go over some tips. Some of these might be very obvious, but it's just good sometimes sellers to go back and look at, hey, how do I actually stay profitable, right? So of course we talked about fees, right? Fees and taxes. So you have to really understand those two things, like how many fees I'm going to incur, what kind of taxes do I have to pay, right? So once you have the fees and taxes, right, along with all the other expenses you may have, you want to make sure you understand what your true break-even cost is, right? This is basically all your fees, your sales, your taxes, everything combined, and then that's just when you make zero, right? And then from there, that's where you can figure out, okay, how do I price my item, right? Do I need to put like 40% above that break-even cost, 50%, 60%, right? And then you have to figure out, okay, what's my competitors doing, right? How much are they selling it for, right? And then determine if it's something that it's worthwhile selling, right? And then once you get your product, you want to maximize your revenue, right? So the most important things are you want to have quality listings, right? A lot of these new marketplaces, sellers are not experienced, right? They might be making these really bad listings, no titles, no pictures are bad, right? So you have an advantage here if you have a really high quality listing, right? This is exactly what sellers come. The first thing they see is your pictures, right? Your pictures and all the bullet points and all the features you have. So that's extremely important, right? And then the quality of the product is also very important, right? So you have to determine, am I selling a high-end product or am I selling more of a low-end product, right? And that will also determine the price that you're going to sell, right? Usually higher-end products, you can demand a higher price, but the price is a big problem too, because depending on the ways that the consumer behaviors are, sometimes psychologically they see anything above like $25, $30, $40. If it's outside the price threshold, they might not want to buy it, versus selling a cheaper product, you might get a lot more traffic, but it'll also bring in a lot more returns or other problems. So you got to make sure that you have your prices priced accordingly, where you can actually still have good margins, right? Some of the other things you could also do is coupons, right? Coupons are great because when you go to a listing and you see the coupon, it kind of attracts the sellers to want to buy that product. And a lot of times, you see that coupon, it makes all the difference. And even though coupons, I think in some of the marketplaces, they charge you like 60 cents per use, a lot of people don't use them, right? So this actually can bring in more traffic. You can actually increase your traffic, we've seen, by 300%, right? So in the end, it might cost you 60 cents per transaction, but it could only be 20 cents, right? So it plays a huge value on bringing more traffic and more conversions, right? Another good strategy is marking your product as a sale, right? So there's that retail MSRP price, and then there's your sale price. So a lot of sellers, what they do is they put a very high MSRP price, and then when buyers come in, they see that big discount, and psychologically makes them think, all right, I'm getting a good deal, right? So marking products for sale is good. Another good strategy is bundling your products. So sometimes you can sell two products together, right, as one. And the big advantage here is that your FBA fees don't really go up by very much when you bundle your products. So you can actually be getting higher margins by bundling multiple products together of the same product. But you also have to realize, all right, is this product something that people want to have two of, right? So some products, it might work, some might not work. So, if you're selling a printer, I don't think people are going to buy two printers, right? But if you're selling other items, sometimes they might want a second one, and if they're going to get a good deal by bundling together, they're going to buy it, and you're actually going to get higher profits. So, and also you want to take advantage of that free shipping threshold. Like in the United States, for people that don't have Prime memberships, $25, and plus they get free shipping, right? So if you're pricing your product at $23 and they're not getting that free shipping threshold, the seller actually ends up having to pay $6 shipping. They might be paying $30 for your product in the end, but if you just raised your price to $26, they're actually saving $3, right? And you're actually making more money. So keep in mind of the free shipping thresholds in some of these other countries. You want to try to stay above that if possible, if your product is in that price range. And then conversion rates are very, very important as well. So you want to keep track on, if you're changing your prices, how is your conversions doing, right? If your price is too high, your conversion goes down. Amazon's going to not show your product as much to buyers anymore, right? So keeping track of your price, how you're changing it, and then what your conversions look like after you change it is extremely important. Managing ad spend. Some of these international marketplaces, since they're brand new, you might not have a lot of competition, right? There might only be a few sellers selling the same product, versus in the US, when you search a keyword, it's so saturated, you're going to find like 50 people selling the same thing. And that's why people have to run ads, right? In international marketplaces, you might not need to run ads, right? So you might want to just focus on keywords, right? Or long tail keywords, and making sure you target the right keywords, and then you don't have to spend ads. But if you have to run ads, of course you want to keep your ACoS low, right? And keep a track of that. And then the fourth biggest thing is managing inventory flow. So the biggest challenge with sellers right now is that sometimes they don't know how much demand they're going to get when they sell a product, right? So they might order a lot of it. It just sits there, it doesn't move, ties up your capital. You can't use that money to buy more products, right? So you have to make sure you're stocking efficiently. You know when you have to restock, right? And making sure you're not running out of stock. And if you're running out of stock and your listing sitting there and not getting any sales, your ranking is going to drop. So you have to really pay attention to inventory as well. So, and then Vin is going to talk about more of the supplier side.
I definitely did not know about any of those tips, so thank you for sharing all that. I want to talk about something that not many sellers know, and depending on your volume, you can negotiate with your suppliers. And I don't mean tiered unit pricing, right? What sellers don't realize is that although suppliers will accept USD, they'll have to convert that back to their home currency so that they could actually use it, right? So of course they'll price that into their products, and we've noticed that that percentage could be as high as 10%, as they want to make sure they're covered should there be any volatility in that currency. So let's take a quick look at a typical fund flow from to your overseas suppliers. And that could be to anywhere, right? It could be to China, it could be to India, UK, Canada, wherever your suppliers are. So the typical fund flow, if you follow this graphic right here on the bottom right, you're selling in a international marketplace. You're accepting that international currency. You're going to take an FX hit when you bring it back to your home currency or your domestic currency. And then now you're going to send that currency to your supplier, right? And most suppliers do accept USD, as stated before. But if they're going to accept that, they're going to take a hit on their FX, right? So you may not see that hit, which obviously is great for you. But let's say that we streamline this process, okay? And let's say that we take that foreign currency that you just earned from your international marketplace, and instead of repatriating that back to your USD, let's just send it directly to their home currency, okay? And what we realized is that if you do it that way and you find a good payment partner, it's a savings of over 7%. So now, Henson, if I go up to you and I go, hey buddy, I know that I'm not being charged anything for this FX, but I'm sure that you're being charged 5, 7, whatever percentage you're getting from your guy. What if we split that difference? What if I negotiate a little bit lower fees for myself and we'll eat that cost together, right? So it's those little things that could help maintain your margins. And in order to kind of understand that, you kind of need to understand payments a little bit, right? Now, in order to understand payments, you have to understand what you're being charged for. And that sounds like a silly question, right? But how many of you know what your withdrawal fees are? Are you charged on receiving and sending? Are you getting mid-market rates for your conversions? What is a mid-market rate, right? What does it cost to send a wire? Would it be more beneficial to FX that before you send it? Can you exchange your currencies freely between your many receiving accounts, right? That way you could just keep your currencies and send it to whoever you need. Maybe you're not paying a supplier. Maybe you're just paying another business, okay? Are these fees transparent to you? Or are they hidden in rows and rows of fine text and kind of just blended together? And did you know that the default payment providers could be as high as 5% in fees? And I'm not talking about just Amazon, right? We're talking about every marketplace out there. So my big tip to you guys is take control of that, understand what you're paying for and get a rates comparison. You only have everything to gain. And by that, I mean, take a statement that you recently got, right? You obviously had a currency converted. What is the before? What is the after? Take that to another payment provider. Ask them, hey, what would I have gotten from you guys, right? What will I have gotten back then? What will I get now? And they'll give it to you. And I'm not advocating that you go with the lowest rate supplier out there. But what I'm saying is every supplier provides different services. So you're looking for the most competitive service, right? Because you don't need everything. Nobody needs everything. You're looking for what you need and your future needs. So take control of that and make your payments kind of work for you. So with that, I want to shoot into a little bit of brand recognition, Henson. Why don't you lead us off with that?
Yeah, so the other really important thing is brand reputation, right? So some of the statistics we've collected through some of these sources show that the importance of brand reputation, especially for online sales. 79% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations, right? 60% of consumers say negative reviews made them not want to use business or buy product, right? 49% of consumers need at least a 4-star rating before they choose a business, right? And the consumers read on average 7 reviews before they trust the business. Reviews that gave 1 or 2 stars failed to convert 86% of prospective customers. So this really shows you that how important reviews are and reputation. Like that's the first thing people see on Amazon, right? It's the star rating. Like as a consumer, like for me in the US, I normally won't buy any products that's under 4 stars, right? That's kind of like the threshold that I see. And even with 4 stars and plus, there's so many people that have 4.5, 5-star ratings. That also makes me want to question whether or not these reviews are legit. So there's a lot of skepticism in terms of reviews, but at the same time, most people trust reviews, right? So it's very important that you establish a really good brand reputation right away when you launch these products. Because if you don't have good reviews or you have a poor quality product, it can really affect your sales, especially in the very beginning. So, so these are very important that sellers understand this, and when they launch a product, you want to make sure that everything is perfect as possible. And if you do have problems, you really want to read what those negative reviews are, right? What are these people telling you about your product? Is it someone just trying to write something bad about your product? There's no merit to it, or is there something really wrong with that product? So really figure out you could really figure out how to improve your product really through reviews. And even with when you're researching new products, the best thing you can do is to actually look at your competitors and read their reviews, right? Read all their negative reviews and find out what they're doing wrong with their product, and see if you can fix that issue, right? If you can make their product better, without incurring more costs, then you could definitely sell, and become successful with these products.
That's a great tip. Wow.
Yeah. So, how can FeedbackWhiz help you guys? We help with this brand reputation, right? So the way we help you guys with brand reputations is we can send out these automated email requests through buyer messaging or through the review request functionality, right? And this will automatically reach out to your customers for people that purchase from you to ask for reviews, or you can prevent negative reviews, right? You can try to filter out, say, hey, I don't want to send these requests to people who returned my product or refunded my product. And as been showed earlier, the refund rate is skyrocketing for whatever reason. A lot of people are returning products, right? So if you're asking people that return your products for reviews, that's a big problem, because that can actually increase your negative reviews, which is what a lot of sellers see. So you don't want to hurt yourself by asking for reviews if you're asking the wrong audience, right? We also help with monitoring listings and reviews. So any ASIN on Amazon, it doesn't even have to be your ASIN. It could be your competitor's ASINs. We can pull all that information, and we can monitor to see, okay, when are negative reviews coming in? What are the customers saying about them? You don't have to go through all these different pages on Amazon, scroll through one by one. You can literally read all your reviews on one page, right? Now, a really exciting tool that we're about to release to the general public very soon is this new profits tool. And what this new profits tool does is it's going to has all the data for all your sales, revenue, taxes, cost of goods, expenses, fees, breaks everything down. Everything we talked about earlier with fees, you'll have full transparency and see everything about exactly what Amazon is charging me for each product, each sale, right? You have the ability to group together all these different categories and products that you're selling. For example, if you're a seller and you're selling 1,000 products, like most of the time you can either see only data for one of the ASINs or all of the ASINs, right? Now, what if you wanted to group them together and say, all right, I want to see all the data for toys and games, all the data for clothing, all the data for jewelry, right? You can actually now bundle these products together, and then you can now dive deeper and see, all right, let's say I'm selling on 5 different European marketplaces. How are my sales doing for toys, right? How are my sales doing in Europe, in UK, or whatever? It just gives you a lot more flexibility on how to take this data and really analyze to see, all right, how can I improve my margins? How can I increase my profits? And then eventually we're going to set up these alerts, right? So now you can put alerts on fees. Like, for example, like why suddenly I see this huge fee on Amazon charging me for fulfillment, right? I could set a threshold and say, all right, there's something going on here, right? Or my pricing changes, right? I can set prices on, my competitor price drops too much. Oh, I want to know why they're dropping the price, right? Do I need to drop my price, right? And we can also eventually manage your inventory. So this is a really, really cool beta tool that it's already in beta right now. So give everyone opportunity in this webinar to check it out.
That's awesome. I mean, I think we all know here that now the world is driven by data and data analytics, right? So knowledge is power, and it's crazy to not harness the data analytics that you could be getting, right? Just, I mean, not even just talking about Amazon. People are getting data from, their Fitbits. It's just good to know what's going on so that you could be ready for the future. So, uh, excellent stuff that FeedbackWhiz is doing. Just want to give you guys a quick overview of what PingPong could allow you to do. And what we do is just kind of streamline the payment process. If you take a quick look at the bottom left graphics there, that's me applying for a receiving account. Now, after you get verified and approved and KYC approved, we allow you to open receiving accounts all over the world. And you could do that in a matter of seconds, all of these different currencies. And if you need multiple receiving accounts in the same currency, because you're handling, eBay, Amazon, Wish, whatever marketplace you're on, we could funnel it all together and allow you an easier one portal login to do all of that. Now the bottom right menu is something that's very unique to us, is our FX calculator. And what this allows you to do is not only check to see what conversion rates are happening right now, but you're freely able to swap between your rates, between your currencies. So if you want some sterling, if you want some CAD, you could do that. And we don't charge you on those conversions until you actually withdraw it or send it out. So just make sure you use all the margins that you have, and it's just very beneficial to be able to control which currency and how you send that currency.
Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and for more information, please visit feedbackwiz.com.